Okay, I think we are live. So hi everyone.
Hello.
Here am I. I'm Miha. Here is Mike and Alex from Identity Protocol here. I'm Miha, CTO of PureFi, and we will be leading the stream today for you. So today we have a few questions that we will be happy to cover with guys right here for you. And I want to start from the first one, which is what is the impact of the identity in the DeFi sector? I think everyone from this chat is actually dealing with DeFi on an everyday basis, and so this is really important for everyone of us. So who will start?
Thank you for this question, and thank you, Miha, to invite us on this call. It's really a pleasure for us to be here. For us, the impact of identity could be potentially really huge on DeFi sector. If we could achieve our common goal to satisfy the all client expectation and create something meaningful to protect digital identity by providing unique technology of data verification, it could be great.
Mike, anything to add?
Yeah, I will add from the business point of view, this will streamline the processes for our clients, for the partners who will join the identity and will use the verification page and use NFT tokens, which will be issued to the applicants, to the final clients. This will streamline their processes, will significantly will make the integration process significantly easier, as this verification page where the client approves to transfer the data will be basically no code. Right, it will be one URL link which should be launched following the login in, something like Authenticate 2 protocol, which is used by Google and Microsoft. So basically only one page where the user will allow to share the data. And for users, it won't be the hassle of providing the KYC on different platforms every time, because as you know, there are like dozens, hundreds of KYC providers at this moment, and the users basically struggling with all this KYC. Some of them are doing better work, some are not, but still it's numerous attempts for the single platforms. So the business will be satisfied with not paying for numerous attempts, and clients will be satisfied with getting rid of the hassle of providing documents for like dozens of services, which is less secure, right, and less time consuming.
Okay, so as far as I understood, what you are doing is actually kind of integration layer based on NFT that other projects will be able to use with some simple integration. What kind of integration do you plan to use?
So there will be a simple page which you need to get using URL, something like logging in with MetaMask. So probably everyone who is interested in this project used like different staking, different DeFi launch pads and trading platforms where all the information on the user is connected with MetaMask, the wallet address, the history of transaction, and so on. So there will be like NFT as well, which will store some basic information, and the core information it will store its ID of the client on the identity website, and then identity will serve as a custody, where all the information, real information which were provided during the KYC will be stored. And eventually we will allow other KYC providers to use this blockchain as well, to use this protocol. So the providers who will be reliable will be allowed to generate these NFT tokens as well. And there will be a few custody, basically, and the token will save the information about the custody, basically KYC provider who is storing the final data. So basically, DeFi product, they will need to have the like big databases storing data. They need to know only the custodian who made the KYC, who is responsible for KYC, and who is storing the data. So for the DeFi providers will be less of pain of maintaining database, maintaining its security, and so on.
Okay, so talking about integrations, which the typical DeFi product is based on two core things, interface and a smart contract. So as far as I understood you will have the integration on the website layer. So the login page, like login with a MetaMask, and then you will be allowed to use the service on the website. Am I correct?
Yes, the first, so the KYC page and the verification page, the DeFi product, they don't even need to integrate it. They can say to users, just go to the identity website and press the self KYC button, conduct the KYC, and come to us when you have the NFT token or use their application. So this will be no code KYC for the DeFi products. And in the end, they need to only authorization page, which will be easier to use.
Okay, so as the last person and for this answering for this question, so I will start for the impact which is in my head. So being an active DeFi sector user, I've been struggling many times providing my data to centralized exchanges and explaining them what are the data about and how I made that money from DeFi sector and whether or not it's a money laundering and stuff like that. So then it came to my mind, it came to our team mind that we definitely need to make a product of that. And here PureFi came. So basically, the impact of identity and AML data is definitely huge, and the regulators actually seeking for a new type of regulation. As I think everyone knows that AML6 regulation just appeared, and this will definitely change how DeFi sector operates. So. From the interesting key point from that regulation is that even a smart contract is actually considered to be a so-called virtual asset service provider, and whoever have deployed that smart contract is responsible for the money that is coming to this smart contract. Oops, Alex disappeared for quite a while. Okay, so what we are doing in PureFi is actually not an identity, but integration layer for different AML providers, first of all. And guys are using NFTs for identity, and PureFi is based on verifiable credentials. Verifiable credentials is W3C based integration standard, and as an integration layer we are referencing this integration key point. So this standard is adopted by Google, Microsoft, IBM, and huge and other big players in the industry. And what we expect is actually that this will be a better way of doing integration rather than inventing our own standards. So it's verifiable credentials versus NFTs, not bad, not good. It's just a way of doing things, and the way that you are providing your product to your users. So I just want to do not want to start that holy war that is going over the internet, verifiable credentials versus NFTs. But even though. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Would it be possible to use identity to create a credit scoring system for DeFi? I think this is more about banking, not even so. So who will start? I think this is more question to Mick.
To me and Alexandra as well, as Alexandra enjoying quite a huge experience working for largest European banks. From my side, I would say that during KYC you collect data which you can transfer in the scoring. For example, the scoring based like if you break down the scoring to the simplest level is the like age of the people, the jurisdiction of the person. So for example, if it's a man 35-year-old living in Germany, in Berlin, versus the man the same age, or like the man of 65 living in somewhere in Africa, for example, they will have different credit scoring. So based on the KYC, of course, and if you add to KYC ML level, when the client need to provide additional proof of funds, yeah, it will be easier to create a scoring. It can be done from eventually from our side, or the data can be used by the DeFi product to do their own scoring. Alexander may elaborate more on this question.
Yeah, I completely agree with Mike. Really, I think it could be a really good idea to develop the next layer of NFT to simplify the process of credit scoring, and with our identity solution, we could potentially work on it, in the next stage of our process.
Okay, so talking about scoring system, so first of all, I'm a tech guy, so I don't even, I have no idea how the scoring works in real bank. But according to my understanding, I think that identity is not a single portion of information that is required to build a scoring system. So
yeah,
what
exactly.
other types of information?
Yeah, exactly. You need to have more information about each profile. You need to have more information about credit history, about transaction history, etc. It could be the next step on our development. It's a great idea to move on this idea, but I see it's at this stage, identity is just one part of response on this question.
Okay, so DeFi sector is, let's say, public by design. By public by design, I mean that whatever you do for DeFi, you are doing that with the help of a smart contract. And whatever you have a smart contract is public. So every transaction that you have sent to Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain or whatever chain is public. So everyone knows what you have posted over there. So when we are talking about scoring system, I think that the majority of information that you have to provide to build this score is actually private. And as a person, and I do not want this information to be available to everyone, to anyone, including tax authorities. So how do you plan? So imagine you are building that kind of system. How can you resolve that?
Look, so the KYC providers are not to be obliged to be like tax agent at this moment, at this stage. They need to follow the MLD rules and to give the professional opinion on the documents, on their validity, and to be sure that the person applying is a real person and the document belongs to them. So, but sure, yeah, for sure, this will be evolving in something else. And once DeFi will get under the regulator's control, and when the profits should be disclosed of the people, when the loans and credits and deposits will evolve on this DeFi side. KYC providers will need to get more and more tasks to solve, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. So talking about PureFi and scoring system, that imagine we are building scoring system all together. So I'm just thinking and imagining what can we do as a PureFi for such kind of a scoring system. So my point is that what we can provide is actually an ML score of different funds that person has. And of course, this information is private. And so one of a part of PureFi protocol is relying on zero knowledge proofs, and possibly we might use the same approach for building a scoring system. So zero knowledge proof works the way that you have some computational program that you can launch locally on your laptop that will consume the data, private data locally, and compute so-called public proof that you can just send along this transaction on chain, and this proof doesn't give any clue on your private data. But what it gives to the verifier, which can be on chain, is that your data are compliant to some strict regulation defined by that program, and this is possibly a way for building such kind of scoring system. Now, this is a long-term future, definitely, for all of us. Okay, so
here
let's proceed.
It's basically, this is where the identity and PureFi can bring their efforts together, right?
Yeah, for sure.
To deliver everything basically in one step.
Yeah, and sell all that to banks. Okay, so let's discuss some benefits of our project here. So talking about some exact features that you can provide to your users. I think this is something that you have already covered when we've been talking about integration layers and providing documents on the single one-stop shop document verifying solution, as far as I understood you, Mike. So here I've been talking a bit about our features, which is more to the AML and compliance. So what we are doing is actually providing end users with a simple way of assuring DeFi protocols that the money that you've been using to step into that protocols are actually having good ML scores. So we will have both front-end integration parts, like Mike said, they will have for identity, and we will have also smart contract integration layer, which will allow DeFi projects to enable ML verification on the smart contract layer without any integration with front-end. So this will allow these projects to actually filter the incoming liquidity even on a transaction layer, not just by validating addresses of the users on their website. So this is kind of unique feature that PureFi will deliver to the market very soon. Okay, so what other unique features do you have, Alex? Mike?
Yeah, as Mike said already, is cost and time effectiveness on business side, but also we can add here mitigation of cybersecurity risk and risk linked to privacy. Here we can add also regulatory risk mitigation. Yeah, for the client, mostly it's time effectiveness, friendly solution with dedicated support, with less significant risk of false identity, for example, and different privacy concerns.
How do you plan to impact that cybersecurity risks?
Basically, of course, we will get the certification ISO 27001 on cybersecurity, and a regular penetration test by certified auditors, which is basically standard for the industry to have all this. PCI DSS rules on data storing can be applied. Even though PCI DSS is more for the payment protocol, but they have basically good kind of tutorials and rules for the data storing, which also will be applied to ensure that the data stored safely. And the infrastructure, basically, by choosing, for example, Google, Amazon infrastructure, you are already enjoying their that they are comply with all best security practice for data storing.
Yeah, okay. So do you plan to be GDPR compliant?
Yeah, sure. Even though it's a bit different, I would say, legal frame, GDPR, because here with the KYC, it's rules on financial regulation, on the international compliance, where the person cannot use the products without giving the information. It's a bit different frame, but for sure, yeah, the person will be able to delete data, to see all the data collected on him, and he will know this while agreeing on the terms of use and giving the consent of collecting this data. This basically the main rules of GDPR we will apply to the product.
Okay, and as far as I remember, GDPR allows me as a user to ask you as a service provider to completely delete my data and do not keep it. So how would you do that, assuming that you are sending part of this data on chain? And what kind of data do you plan to send on chain to be GDPR compliant?
Yeah, there will not be full data on chain, right? There will be like first letter of the name, first letter of the last name, the year of the birth, but main information, there will be as I told, information about the custody and ID on this custody where the information is kept.
Okay, and the custody will be GDPR compliant.
Yeah, and once user verify, he will agree on what data he wants to transfer. For example, the user was verified on the document, on selfie, on the proof of address. But for example, DeFi platform, they don't want to use the information. They just need the status. Was this user verified or not? This is enough for the DeFi product normally. And they know that this user was verified by this agent, for example, PureFi Identity, and they know the ID of the person, and they always can get information on it in case of some regulators coming and asking about the person who was using the system.
But what if I have asked you as a verifier to delete my data and you have deleted this data compliant to GDPR, and then let's imagine Alex is holding some DeFi protocol and he's asking you to provide the data on my NFT. So will you provide this data or will you not provide this data and just say, Alex, that the data have been deleted according to the user's request? So how this will work?
Yeah, so in this case, information need to be deleted and his NFT should be expired.
Just burned.
Burned, yeah, expired. So the NFT should be confirmed to be alive every 6 months. In case of data deletion, it will be burnt. Okay,
so talking about PureFi, so AML data is not under GDPR regulation just because it's a public data. Everyone can query AML score for any wallet. So this data considered to be a public data, first of all. But we expect that some of the data that we will be using and exchanging under the PureFi protocol will be private. And for doing that, we will be using verifiable credentials standard. And by design, verifiable credentials are not kept in the blockchain. So usually what you can do is you can send verifiable credentials based document via any type of communication channel, even with your email, or just put it on a flash disk and send it, let's say, via taxi driver. So that's why we expect that we will not be required to do any kind of GDPR compliance, but we understand that possibly one of our providers inside the protocol would be required to do that, and we are okay for them to do. So what we will be using as well, along with the private person data, is so-called Selective Disclosure Protocol, which is also a W3C type of standard that is allowing to disclose individual fields of the documents that you are holding as a user. And this standard will actually do some cryptography magic and assure your service provider as a verifier that you are holding the documents, and these are the individual fields from that document. And you can, with that kind of standard, you can share only required portion of your information that the service providers needs, without sharing the information that they are not required to know. So basically, I think that's it. And I will be switching to some live questions from the chat. How do you work together, guys? I think we have already answered the question. The PureFi is an integration layer, and the identity protocol is identity protocol, which can be an actual identity provider in the PureFi ecosystem. Explain, please, how utility function works in your case. Okay, who will start? So,
probably this is a question to identity, how the utility function of the tokens, identity tokens, will work.
Yeah, we both have utility tokens, so we all have to answer this.
Yeah, so in our case, simple as that, paying with identity. So the identity product will allow paying in many cryptocurrencies and digital currencies, but paying with our token identity will give significant discount to the service fee providers, the service fee on the platform. So basically, we expect pretty high demand of the business who will be paying with the tokens, and in this case, price will be really competitive compared to the peers with not getting to pay for the numerous attempts, right? Yeah, so that's why we expect a quite huge demand for the token among the industry.
Okay, so talking about PureFi, there are a few ways that we will be using our token as a utility. So first of all, PureFi as a protocol will require integration of service providers, and what we'll be using token for is the service provider stake. The stake is required for service provider to economically incentivize the fair play, first of all. And also what we are doing right now is experimenting with the different ways of monetization and let's say how to use approach. So we do not have any immediate plans to charge for our service our tokens. Most likely we will be going with how to use model in some way. We're still experimenting with few of them. So I will be ready to talk about that in a couple of months, I think. So I think that's it. Anything to add, Alex?
No.
Okay, so do you use PureFi for, how do you use PureFi for DeFi checks? I don't think I follow what is DeFi check. If we're talking about ML score check, there are few ways of doing that with the PureFi protocol. So we do have front-end integration SDK right now, which is available on a GitHub, and you can use that as of today. And we also plan to use backend integration and smart contract integration SDK in the nearest future. You will be able to use that in your for your DeFi ML checks. So most likely we will be releasing smart contract SDK in a couple of months, definitely Q1 next year. And about backend integration, I cannot tell you the exact timeline for now. Okay, so let's get back to some questions that we had on our Twitter feed. Okay, is it possible to leak personal user data provided that the NFT minting itself will take place on the server of the application that is not decentralized? And I understand it, and it's a subject of hacking. I think that the question is mainly about the point in time when you, as a user, have provided your documents and you get this NFT minted. And a guy that is asking this question is curious about the possible hack and honeypots that this kind of service becomes. I think that Mike already attempted to answer that question. They will be following strict security guidelines, and we'll be relying on possibly AWS or Azure infrastructure. Am I correct?
Yes, correct. So we will apply all the best security rules. And as I told during minting, there will not be personal data hidden in the NFT token, because it's open on the blockchain. So we cannot state the full name, address, or passport number or date. So the information will be kind of given in not in the full, right? For the identity theft frauders not to be able to steal it. So the basically only information about the custodian and ID will be saved, and this will be hard to use this data, of course.
Okay, I see another interesting question. How long will it usually take to the verification process? How do you ensure the duplicate identity is not generated? So I think this is also a question for Mike and Alexander.
Yeah, so basically the standard for the duplicates, standard rules applies. You need to collect the data stated on the documents, the full name and the last name and date of birth, middle name if possible, and compare it to the whole group of people you KYC'd, right? So this is simple as that, and all the KYC provider using it. Some additional checks can be done, is comparing the face from the selfie to the whole database, which is also already simple task, which already answered by the all KYC providers. So this is not something that is new to industry.
Yeah, and how long will it take the verification process?
On average, so all the clients looking at the numbers on average, yeah, and the maximum. So normally the KYC provider saying the maximum is 24 hours, but I would say then on average there will be some automated checks, right? And the checks where the machine didn't cannot verify with a high confidence level, then there will be fallbacks to managers. And I would say then on average 15 minutes, of course, some will be processed during 3 minutes, some of will be processed during 20 minutes because the volumes of KYC is always not linear, yeah, with some hikes. Yeah, but I would say that will bring SLA to 15 minutes on average.
Right. I can tell you how we deal with duplicates in PureFi. We do not deal with that. We do not deal with them at all. So we do not think that this is a real problem because, actually, assuming that you're using verifiable credentials as a standard, so no matter how much verifiable credentials document have you generated, every one of them is valid, unless it was, let's say, revoked by the issuer. So whatever, no matter how much verifiable credentials you need, we will generate that for you. Okay, I think I have another interesting question here. Can your technology be used for fundraising? So definitely yes. I think both projects are designing their products for DeFi sector, and the fundraising, especially public fundraising, is definitely a part of DeFi sector. So both of technologies can be used for the DeFi sector. With PureFi, you will be able to integrate that even on smart contract layer. But both projects will definitely provide you a way to integrate identity checks and ML score checks on the front-end layer as well. Okay, what chains are available to check wallets? I think this is mainly a question for me. So we are able to check Ethereum right now. We plan to have Binance Smart Chain in the nearest future, I think possibly a couple of months, and we will be adding other chains as well as soon as some major players will be adding these channels into their AML checks. Who are the main clients for the identity? I think this is a question for guys.
Well, I will start. Basically, the first adopters will be, of course, the DeFi products, Launchpad, different products who doing IDOs, airdrops, some lotteries campaigns, and then we are pretty sure that the financial industry and the business will adopt it as well. Alexander, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. Starting with mainly crypto companies, different exchanges, different service providers, and after that we will see the most regulated markets.
Okay. So let's move on. PureFi, are there any next rounds of farming? Keep in touch with us in our Telegram chat. I think this is a best source of information about farming rounds and stuff like that. So there will be definitely some next rounds in the nearest future, but I can't give you any insights right now. Any strategies for working with DEXs? This is also a question for me, but I also think that guys will be happy to answer that for in terms of identity project as well. So the best option would be to wait for smart contract SDK. This will allow to seamless integration with DEX smart contracts. So talking about using PureFi right now, what you can basically do with the DEX is actually integrate front-end SDK of PureFi, and this way you will be able to check for the AML scores of incoming funds for DEX into the DEX that is going into direction of the DEX pool, and also will be able to check the AML scores of the funds that are in the DEX pool as of transaction time. I think that we can also discuss how identity project can be used with the DEX.
Yeah, sure.
and should
So
it be used?
yeah, Dex, basically Dex is the best case for us, right? So currently decentralized exchange normally don't have the KYC, and this is I think it's a huge risk for them and the pain, because one of the why they benefit a lot right now, it's the simply how people can simply use it and to get access to basically the every possible asset, yeah, on the blockchain, every possible token, while centralized normally the number of assets because the price of listing on a centralized exchange is quite high. And all centralized exchanges, basically, I would say 90% have KYCs. But yeah, basically in the nearest future, the DEX exchanges will implement KYC, and identity will be the easiest way for them to do it, because they're already working with all these MetaMasks and authorization through the MetaMask. So basically, DEX that was DEX launchpad, that was it's kind of a core market and the key clients in the future. So that's why we're creating the product, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that regulators doing a good job for all of us here. So they are creating a market for both products. So they enforce DEXs and DEX operators to follow AML regulation, and this requires for AML checks and identity checks as well. So you have to follow QIC, you have to follow AML rules if you want to stay on the market. Okay, so this was the last question. I think that we have to thank you everyone for watching here. So we'll see you next time with another AMA. So thank you, Mike. Thank you, Alexander, for joining me in this stream. Thanks everyone for watching. See you next time.
Thank you. Just the last point. I would like to thank you all, our community, and I would like to. And we received a lot of questions, but unfortunately, we can't respond to all the questions. But thank you very much. We had a great idea from this question. We will try to respond the next time on all your questions.
Yeah. And thank you, PureFi, for organizing this call, and we hope you will invite us in future, and we really hope that we'll get to mutual beneficial collaboration with you guys, and we'll change the DeFi industry to the better.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Bye.
Bye.